the discipling. So, do you want to speak a little bit about how you somebody could learn to have a pulpit ministry, but it's another thing to be able to be personal and have a personal ministry to people and help them, lead them, motivate them, in the heart. So,
I think with ministries that are really Bible focused, as we've been put in a box and said we are, um, the mindset is that we're preachers and we're teachers, and even in the body, we can preach at each other. We can try to teach a person all the time. We teach everybody we know doctrine, um, but then it's not practical. It's not personal. Um, Even in soul winning, sometimes you forget that you're talking to a person, so you start preaching to the person, or you start teaching Bible college. I remember in South Africa, um, a guy I met soul winning, I gave him 95 things that happen at the point of salvation, which is great, but that's not what you want to whip out when you're giving somebody the gospel. Like 95 things. Well, here's 95 things that happen at the point of salvation. Let me correct you real quick. And you lose communion. There's the arms and legs of the gospel is people, and sometimes you can go to Bible college and you can learn to be a great preacher, a teacher, have a great walk in the world, in the Word rather, and be lousy with people. You don't connect with people. You're this theologian alone, right? And the average person doesn't think the way you think, and they're not exegeting verses in their minds, and maybe they don't spend 4 hours in the Word every day, but they're born again and they love God. So being practical. You see it sometimes over the years, guys graduate Bible school and they're great preachers and teachers, but they don't invest, they don't make disciples, it's hard to connect with people. They're not real to most people. They're like, okay, this guy is there. He knows the Bible, I don't know the Bible, or he's that. So it's hard to connect. And I think one of the ways we make ourselves available, we commune with people in the body and out of the body, is we make it personal. It's me and you. It's two people, right? The value system before God is the same. He died for both of us. The opportunities for us are the same. You can know God the way I know God. I love that about Pastor Schaller's ministry. He doesn't just attract the theologian, but he attracts the carpenter, the guy who works security on third shift. He can walk with God, right? It's practical, it's tangible, it's organic. And that's really the ministry that we have.
the text here is 1 Thessalonians 2. I could read it. For you yourselves know, brothers, that our coming to you was not in vain, but though we had already suffered and been shamefully treated at Philippi, as you know, we were bold in our God to declare to you the gospel of God in the midst of much conflict. Like people do, like I was just in Finland, I saw Tea's here, her brother and family, which is great. But I remember that people were receiving the gospel, but more. It says, for our appeal does not spring from error or impurity or any attempt to deceive, but just as we have been approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel, so we speak not to please man, but to please God who tests our hearts. For we never came with words of flattery, as you know, nor with a pretext for greed. God is witness, nor did we seek glory from people, whether from you or from others, though we could have made demands as apostles of Christ, but we were gentle among you. It's almost like he's saying, we weren't like this and we weren't like this, and it wasn't about that, it wasn't about this, but it was really pure. It was the gospel, and it was from our hearts, and you became followers of us. He says it here, for we were gentle among you like a nursing mother taking care of her own children. And I know Pastor Renaldo has done a lot of work in Africa, like 20 8 years or something, or 22, or how many? A lot of many years in Africa. Can you imagine, like, you're living there and people are drawn and you care. So you were gentle, like a nursing mother taking care of her own children. It's a very kind of like graphic illustration, like you actually caring for people. Now, Doug Pearson just walked in the room, and he's over here, Pastor Doug, and where lives in India, and there you have the same thing. You have the message, and then you have your heart is they pick up on it. So, being affectionately desirous of you, we were ready to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own selves, because you had become very dear to us. Like, when people become dear to you, like, people pick up on it. Like, really? You want me to be with you? Or, really? I mean, like, you're spending the time to be with me, or you'll travel from there to there just to be with me, and you actually care about me. It's like, this is a great work. Pastor Bob Siegel was just in Brazil, and it was like that with you too, right? Like, you enjoyed it. People are sensing that you actually care about them, and you have the message. And so there's that work that is going on. So we have, Pastor Renaldo, I know you are like this, but let's say you have a Bible class, and after the Bible class, there's people hanging out in the class. Do you know their names? Do we care about them? Can we linger with them? Can we go outside, walk them out to the car? Can we ask them questions about their lives? Can we, know them? Can you imagine teaching a class of 30 students for a whole semester and not know their names or anything about them, Like, that can't happen. There has to be more, this spiritual life and the connection. So that's what we're talking about. And I'm just saying it to stir me up in that, and you, whatever you want to say, Pastor.
Yeah, I have to stir myself up with God, and then God stirs my heart up for people. And then I don't see students as in learners, but I see people that are pursuing God, that want God like you want God, and we want God together. Amos 3:3, how can two walk together unless they be agreed? So, okay, I'm agreed that we're both pursuing God, and I want to share the life of God. There's the fellowship. In 1 John 1:5, there's a fellowship in the light. And that's not limited to the class, but that's limited to the life. The fellowship of the light is limited to the life of God. Where there is the life of God, there is the opportunity for the fellowship of the light. That's the whole of life. That's the whole purpose, right? We're all trying to find the purpose of God, but the whole purpose of God is me and you and God, because that's what heaven will be. It'll be me and you and God. So that life and this life is the same life. It's the same source. And sometimes we can be geographical in our ministry with people. In this geography, I'm close to you for this purpose. In this geography, I don't even know you. Like, you see someone in church, but then you see them in the grocery store, and they hide. They don't see you. But you are who you are wherever you are. It's just as simple as that. And sometimes our pulpit life can be so larger than life, or our ministry life can be so larger in life. It's almost unbelievable. People say grandiose things like, I have never, and I would never, and that could never happen. And in your mind, you say, oh, okay. But then you imagine that person's life is like that outside the pulpit too. Okay, so that makes, like, that's a hard thing to me to come near. But if I can be, like I saw with Paul in his life, he was extremely transparent. I was like this, I was like that, I have been this, I have been that. He's extremely approachable. So he's relatable and identifiable. And also, I think if you are an initiator of life intentionally, then you'll draw people to you. Like in Luke 15:1, the common people heard him gladly, and the sinners came to him easily. One of the translations says easily. It's like it came, like it was easy for them to come. And sometimes I think we can lead with the word without the sensitivity of the spirit, and we don't have that connectivity with people. And it can hurt your ministry. It can hurt your personal ministry in the church and in outreach and in the world. I know for me, I always try to see people first. The project second, the thing is second. And even if I can't get to where I want to get to scripturally, or I can't get to it even correctively, it's okay. If me and this person have communion, I'll sacrifice some content a little bit for communion. Not in compromise, but I'll sacrifice what I want to do for the sake of communion, because in the communion, I have an opportunity. In communion, I can reveal life. In communion, I can make a connection, and later on, I can build on that. You know, you don't make Timothy today. You don't make Lydia today. It's an ongoing water on a rock. It's an ongoing intentional investment. It's an ongoing God bringing people to you, God bringing you to people. That's a divine appointment. You know, it's not just me seeking, but me being available to meet who God's bringing to me. So am I available today for who God has for me today? More than a verse, people need to see me in Christ, right? 2 Corinthians 3:2. Our life is a living epistle. And many times you're not going to get a chance to speak the word, but you always have a chance to live the word. You may not always have a chance to speak it in family, on holidays, but you can live the word. And when you live the word, it comes in gentle. It comes in nourishing. It comes in encouraging. Even when it's corrective, it can come in like that. So that's got to be the mindset, okay? Because this is how God thinks about people. Imagine how much God knows and how little he says to you. How simplistic he is with you. He could say 6 things that would destroy your life, but he's just easy with you. He's very easy. I was thinking about this thought. The long suffering of God. So 2 Peter chapter 3 talks about it's our salvation. The long suffering of God. That God, it's for the unbeliever, that's a picture of salvation. That God is long suffering. He's patient. That's in other words, I could judge you today, but I'll wait and I'll wait and I'll wait and I'll wait and I'll wait. And when no one else is willing to wait for you, I'll wait and I'll wait and I'll wait. And you're an unbeliever, but I'll wait and I'll wait and I'll wait. It's a form of deliverance for you. I could get judgment, but I'll wait and I'll wait. So we can be patient, because if God can be that patient with me and God can be that gentle with me, and the entrance can come in like that to me, why can't I reflect that to people? I mean, if you're going to serve God for a long time, you're going to need 2 things, a lot of mercy and a lot of patience. A lot of mercy and a lot of patience.
That's good. Why did you say that last sentence like when you were looking at me?
Because I need both.
Do you remember when David said he was thirsty, he'd love to have water from where? Bethlehem well. And then the guys overheard it, and they went and they got it. Like, isn't that a great story of like how hearts are motivated just from their own it must be the love that they had in their heart just opened the door for them to think, let's do it. Let's go get the water, So how do you get somebody's heart to open up? How do you get their heart to open up so they will do something radical for God? How do you get somebody to, leave their career, go to Bible school, leave Bible school, finish it, go to another country. How do you get people to have their heart open? It wasn't David told them to do it. It was just already in their heart because they had been with him and hanging out with him, and they learned by being with him and what he talked about, what he thought about, what he believed. So it's kind of caught it. They caught it. It wasn't taught as much as they caught it. Like, that's what I want in my heart, in my life. So what do you do when it isn't in your heart? That's a good question, I think. Like, it's not, I don't have anything in my heart. No passion, no sacrifice, no desire. No, I'm not listening. Oh, David wants water. Oh, yeah, it'll be a long time before he gets that water. Oh, David wants water. Well, tough luck for him, or any number of ways that the hearts of men could interpret what they heard. A lot of people not even listening to what David is saying, what David wants. And then not to mention that they can't even imagine doing it. But then you have a very select number of people who do have it in their heart. And that's what we want to nurture and cultivate in people. That and of course it's got to be somehow in us that we have that kind of radical that love, and it's got to be in the Bible school. It's got to be in the Bible school. It's got to be in the dorm. It's got to be, with my friends. It has to be in my heart, and it grows. It is there. Through the new birth, I believe we have that heart, and then when we're hanging around with each other, we kind of pick up on it. I mean, you left Baltimore to go to Africa, and many, many years later returned, and just can say, it's really worth it. It's real. The gospel, the work of the gospel is real. And I want you to think about that, and let's think about it, and let's catch it, catch that heart that will say, I'll give Jesus my life and trust him. I think that's where we could, I do love it. I do think we should go back over and over again to that giving Jesus my heart. Just go back there and just give him everything and be filled with the Spirit and love like he loved. You want to close it up, Pastor?
Yeah, I think maybe we get familiar with the beginning. For many of us, it might have been long ago, decades ago, when our heart was warm. Pastor's great series on how to keep your heart warm. Because the heart can get hard, the heart can get cold. But more than anything, I think the heart can get distracted. And then the heart wants what it wants naturally. It gets distracted. And when you get distracted, you get so far off of where you were. But that's something it's a good rehearsal. 2 Peter 3, verse 1. That's good rehearsal for me. More than the verses I can recall, more than the things that I've done or haven't done. Rehearse your heart for God. As much as you rehearse God's heart for you, rehearse back then. Rehearse back then when everything was new, when everything was fresh, when you had that zeal, I think when you rehearse that, there's revival in your heart.
Hey, good word. Hey, what you just said reminded me. Mushfiq, he's from Azerbaijan. He was in Budapest for Bible school. Anyway, he came to Finland on this trip, and he just said this is like totally. Reminds me of when I first became a Christian. Like this whole time, it just reminds me of like what happened to me in Azerbaijan when I just first became a Christian. And the excitement, he said, like this is a revival in Finland, And this it just reminds me of that. He was just so encouraged and built up. And, there are times in your life where you can have a revival time where you just say, that chapter was amazing. That was a period of time and that God gave me. And maybe I get it again, maybe not, but you can't fake it. It is what it is, and you have a knowledge of it, and yet we like to believe that we can live in that a lot. Yeah. Okay. Amen.